Hello, and welcome to Histology of the Nervous System, Part 1. In this lab, we're going to mainly look at the histology of nervous tissue, which is made up of neurons and these smaller supporting cells called glial cells. So in the previous lab, we saw nervous tissue, and we were paying more attention to these large neurons, and that's the cell body. And it has processes. We have processes going this way. We have processes sticking this way. That looks like a space invader. So, we have these neurons. They're large cells. They're excitable cells. They carry nerve impulses. Now we have all these supporting cells here. Those are the glial cells. Supporting cells. They could be astrocytes. They could be oligodendrocytes. They're cells that help the neurons function. That last one, I labeled what I thought were axons or dendrites. In this one, it's very amorphic. We can't tell what the projections are, but we can see there's clearly a nerve cell in the middle. Here's more nerve cells, are the big purple ones, and the glial cells are the little tiny purple dots. So here, this is a better one. I think this is the one that's actually in your lab book. We have this large nerve in the center and smaller glial cells outside, towards the left of the screen. So, you're going to draw two different types of multipolar neurons for me. The first is this pyramidal cell, right here. It has a circular shape, then a long axis going away, and this is the axon. And I like the pyramidal cell because they tend to be clustered by these glial cells. The larger ones, like that one, is an astrocyte. So the astrocytes are the larger ones. These smaller cells are oligodendrocytes. I would not ask you on the lab exam to tell the difference. Like, what is that one? My guess is it's actually an oligodendrocyte because of that white thing there. That's probably part of the myelin sheath around a neuron. Now, it's all luck when you actually have the real microscope. So here are the pyramidal neurons in the center, and we can see some glial cells. I would guess those are oligodendrocytes, but they could be astrocytes. So here's another one. I think this is actually just the reverse image of the one. We could see the larger astrocytes and the smaller oligodendrocytes. And here's another one, just larger pyramidal neurons. You can see astrocytes and oligodendrocytes. Now, on the test, I would just ask you, what is the type of cell? It is a glial cell. So, you guys are going to draw me a pyramidal neuron and its supporting cells. Start by drawing a pyramidal neuron. They tend to be that shape, like so. And this would be the axon. Slightly granular cytoplasm. So there's a cytoplasm. Can I stay in the line? Yes, I can. So there's the cytoplasm right there. And we need to put a nucleus in. And there is the nucleus. There's the nucleus. Now the glial cells are going to be smaller cells. And I'm just going to cheat and make a larger pen here. So there's going to be a bunch of glial cells. There are my glial cells, and they need to all be labeled now. And there is your multipolar neuron, and it is a pyramidal neuron, so label it pyramidal neurons. You need to label the axons, the glial cells. The next one is going to be the Purkinje neuron. In the Purkinje neuron, we have a layer of neurons, and they're actually lacking axons. They're going to be like this. So there's not going to be visible axons, but you're going to see these definite dendrites. Then we have a granular layer here. Actually, smaller neurons that are sending signals to these Purkinje neurons. And then we have white matter. Now, I like it because I like the way the Purkinje neuron looks. Here's a zoomed in picture. Here is the neuron cell body, right here. It has lots of axons. Lots of dendrites that are going to be superficial in the layer of the brain they're in. Now, I'm being simple. I'm calling these axons. They are actually projections that are going to nuclei, but we'll be simple and call them axons because you learned axons. There's some Purkinje neurons. These are the neurons right here in the middle, and then to your left is the granular layer. So again, same picture. We have Purkinje neurons and the granular layer. We're now going to draw some Purkinje neurons. And I'm going to draw on top of this. We have the cerebellum. This is the outer part of the cerebellum. And the cerebellum has folds. It's the really wrinkly thing on the inferior posterior part of your brain. So it has folds. And the Purkinje cells are found out here. So there's a little space there, so I'm going to draw it in there. Down here, we have our cells. And there's probably more pyramidal shape than this, but this is our cellular layer. And the dendrites have to be facing over here, where I just scribbled. So let's draw the dendrites. And there are my dendrites. So these are the dendrites. Oops, dendrites. And just labeled it up there. And these are the Purkinje cells. Next, I have a granular layer. So I'm going to draw the granular layer down here a little bit. So here's the granular layer. Wasn't that fun? And then I have white matter down here. So try to draw some white matter. And here's the white matter layer, like so. And label those. Granular layer right here, and the white matter layer underneath it. You're more than welcome to actually draw what I linked you to. These are what I learned Purkinje neurons should look like. Apparently they're changing the stain. That's the standard stain on it. So like I went to 4 different links and it was all what I think is a crystal violet stain. Your last slide is going to be a unipolar neuron and the supporting cells. It's in the dorsal root ganglia or posterior root ganglia. And what I want you to see are these large cells right here. There. And these are cell bodies of unipolar neurons. Then they have these flat cells that are surrounding them. And these are called satellite cells. So the astrocytes and oligodendrocytes, I can't tell them apart unless I look very carefully. I do know that we're going to have the satellite cells just hugging these cell bodies of unipolar neurons. Then in the center, we're going to have myelin. That's this white stuff. Remember I said I knew that was an oligodendrocyte. That's not an oligodendrocyte, by the way, because it had myelin around it. Well, there's an axon, and there is myelin around it. So we're going to have axons, and we're going to have these Schwann cells with nodes of Neuron VA. So I'm going to just draw it to the left. These large unipolar neurons. I'm so bugging people by doing that, aren't I? And they're going to have a central nuclei. And they're going to have these satellite cells surrounding them. I've labeled the unipolar cell body and the satellite cells. Now, I am going to try to draw the axons and the Schwann cells with myelin around. So here's one axon. There's another axon. If you remember from lecture, it has the peripheral axon and then the central axon. So that's enough axons. Now I'm going to draw the Schwann cells around them. Here are the Schwann cells around them. I'm going to have an unmyelinated axon right there, and I have to fill it in first. So let's fill in my myelin. There's my myelin. Myelin's always blue, I don't know why. There's my myelin. And I'm going to label it. Ooh, there, I labeled it Schwann cells. So that's what you need for this slide. So those are 3 cells for the first part. Pyramidal cells, Purkinje cells and cell bodies of unipolar neurons, just to get a feeling for the different types of cells. So, thank you, and I will see you in part 2.